Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Unity Fellowship. My name is Chrissy Ray Cotton, and I serve as ministry intern here at Unity. We are so happy to have you join us this morning, whether it's live here in person, virtually, or even later in the week. Welcome. You know, every now and then somebody will ask, what makes Unity so special? Well, the heart of it is simple. This is not your grandma's church, unless Mama truly believe that every single person is fully loved and fully welcome just exactly as they are. At Unity, every molecule of your being is welcome and affirmed. Your questions are welcome. Your doubts are welcome. Excuse me, my phone was still on. I kept hearing my own voice. Excuse me, your doubts are welcome. We actually hope to create a dialogue with you, or an interactive experience, if you will. Even if you're struggling with faith, you belong here and you are deeply loved. And now, it brings me great joy to introduce our associate pastor, Reverend Gator Lone Wolf.
Good morning, and thank you, Chrissy. You know what, Chrissy? I look forward to your greeting every Sunday. I absolutely love it. I just echo those words. And as an openly gay man, I can tell you this church is inclusive no matter if you're straight, gay, orange, red, yellow, doesn't make one difference. We affirm, love you. So I want to have our senior pastor say a word of welcome too. This is Bob Coombs.
Thank you, Pastor G and Chrissy, for those words of welcome. You are so right. And we are so delighted that you have found us wherever in the world you are and whatever time you are joining us, whether that's right now Sunday morning or Thursday evening. You're watching it on replay. Wherever you are, whenever you are, every molecule of your being is welcome and affirmed. And we're not blowing the smoke when we say that. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Okay, now time for our first video of the day, You Matter by Morris Griffin.
Control. Oh, shame for me. I apologize. I did not see you go through all those things, but I am certain who can and who will deliver all of your needs. Love is the key. God looks into your eyes and sees his design. Don't worry, you matter. God looks into your eyes and sees his design. In time you will see God's plan for your life.
Okay, now it's time for news, joys, and concerns. If you're on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand so we can unmute you. If you're on the app, you can type it in. I'll happily read it for you. If you're here in person, the birthday boy Dennis over here is going to bring a mic around to you. News, joys, and concerns. I snuck that in there on you, Dennis.
Happy birthday to the birthday boy.
Yeah. Every birthday. I would like to ask for prayers for Chrissy, who's
Yeah.
going through a very, very tough time. And I just want God to lead her through it, to comfort and guide her, and give her the courage to continue doing what's right.
Thank you, Gator. I'd like to still ask for prayers for my husband, Jacob. It's still all unknown right now what's going on, but if y'all keep him in your prayers for his safety and everything, I would appreciate it.
And just an addendum to that, Chrissy, we are here for both of you. We love you, and we're here. We're here as your support.
We absolutely know that, Bob. We do. We do. I want to remind everyone to pray for Kevin Foster. He's home, but he's weak and he can't quite get out yet. So if y'all keep Kevin in your prayers, I would think that would be good.
He is anticipating going to cardiac rehab soon.
Okay. Or traveling prayers for Daniel as he travels to Texas and crosses state lines. I think that's a federal offense. I'm not sure. I hope he gets there safe.
I needed that, Gator.
Yeah.
George, my husband, has this problem. I've told you before and asked for prayers. This week he went to his doctor at the VA, and his sight in his right eye has gotten worse, and they want him to be sure and tell him if the left eye gets any problem in it, to be sure and
Gracious.
call. So, and he's still real weak. He gets out and walks twice a day. I'm really proud of him. He works really hard. And his diet, he's lost weight and he eats the same thing. It's driving me crazy, but I can fix it. Every meal, he eats the same thing. And he's doing really well. It hasn't gotten him depressed bad or anything. He knows he's not going to get his sight back in his right eye. And I pray that hopefully this will stop whatever was causing his blindness not to go into his left eye, and just to, lift him up and pray for his well-being. Thank you.
Certainly, Becky.
Definitely.
Last week I went to the kidney doctor and she said everything was within scale. So that's one doctor I don't have to worry with for another year. And Gail goes to the heart doctor this week, and when she had the 2 stents put in, her blood pressure goes back down to 120 or something like that. And they think she's on a heart regulating pill. Her heart rate, her heart goes up and down, and they think that with the 2 stents that they can get her off of this pill. So we certainly pray for that. We don't want to take any more pills than we have to. So if we can get off of a pill, that's good. So we go Thursday to find out about this.
Absolutely.
Always in our prayers. Anybody else? News, joys, and concerns?
It's not news because I announced it last week, but just as a reminder that as we end the series that we're in right now, Meeting God in the Margins. Around the corner, we begin the annual tradition of questions from parishioners. So I am collecting those questions now. I've gotten several already, but there's still a few slots open. If you have a theme or a question, something you'd like for me to address, please let me know. You can send it to me any way you want to get the message to me, and just let me know. Thank you.
And I don't know if anybody mentioned Kevin Foster. Keep him in your prayers. And he would love phone calls, but he said he is staying home for a while. He's in physical therapy and such, but please keep him in your prayers. And I have his phone number if anybody wants to give him a call. He would much appreciate it. And Patty and I are very thankful that our son and his family made it out of Hawaii
Great.
right before the hurricane. And
Right.
I mean, right before the hurricane. And so their flight was canceled, and anyway, they did leave Hawaii about noon yesterday. So, and they were on the Big Island where it was really raining, and so we are thrilled they got home to Oregon last night. So thrilled for that.
Yeah,
Great
we
news.
rejoice with you in that. Jamie writes that she has an appointment with a new PCP and praying that they will be open to her circumstances.
Certainly. I want to remember a friend of mine, David Commandeer. He's a fellow Cherokee. He was traveling to Mississippi about a month ago, developed a fever on the way there, and then went sepsis. So he had a kidney stone that blocked his urethra. And they didn't think he was going to make it. So he's been in a hospital in Baton Rouge for weeks. And he was just able to get back to Tulsa. And they think they're going to have to amputate his feet. And this is a middle-aged man. And his feet are part of his living. I mean, he's a mover and getter. So if you could remember him and his family and the incredible bills that are going to be stacking up, they're just overwhelmed.
Yeah. What was his name again? G.
David, last name Commandeer.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, barely.
Okay. Excuse me. Anyone else? News, joys, and concerns? Pastor G, would you like to lead us in prayers this morning?
I certainly can. Creator, we give you thanks for another Sunday. Many of us may be internally wondering, how did we make it to another Sunday? We ask that you be with those individuals who have raised prayer concerns this morning and those who didn't. Somehow be present with them. They're in these struggles and these times of uncertainty. Give them strength and wisdom and comfort. We give you thanks as well for the great things that are happening, for birthdays, for healing journeys, for resisting temptation at times. We give you great praise for that. Calm our spirits this morning, if only for an hour, so that we can listen and hear about your love without the distractions of the world. Build us up. Feed us and nourish us with your love, God. In the name of the one who came and made all things new. Amen.
Okay, now if you'll join me for our affirmation of togetherness. We gather in oneness together. We praise and worship God together. We welcome and affirm all persons in God's love together. We seek to live for God in every breath and heartbeat together. If you haven't already done so, you can join our contact list by texting the word ADD, ADD, to 270-201-5022. It will send back a form. You don't have to fill the entire thing out if you don't want to, but at least send us your name so we know who we're messaging, please. And if you don't already have it, you can get our app totally free by searching for Unity Fellowship-Owensboro on the Google Play or the App Store and look for our logo. Also, if you'd like to help support this ministry, you can do so in one of several ways. You can, of course, give on the app, click the donate button, click the donate button on our Facebook page, or you can go old school and mail it to P.O. Box 1401, Owensboro, Kentucky 42302. There's also a collection plate at each door to the sanctuary. But you know, it is important that we get money because it does cost to run a church. If you do give, we would encourage you to make it ongoing. But that's not the only way you can help. We try our best to create more content for our online persona. If you could engage with us and share those things on Facebook or on TikTok, we'd really appreciate it and help us get the word out that Unity Fellowship is a really great secret. Now for our second video of the day, Zion Wave 5+2.
Me see the crowd on the hillside, hungry and weak. Them come fi hear the master, hear the word him speak. One little boy with basket, hold it in him hand. 5 loaves, 2 fish, that are the plan. 5 loaves, 2 fish, multiplied by the king. From a little blessing and provide everything. 5 loaves, 2 fish, miracle is sweet. Jah table full, every soul get feed. Jesus lifting me high, give thanks to the sky. Break the bread in a piece, share it wide. Every man, every woman, every child satisfied. From a hand we give, blessing multiply. 5 loaves, 2 fish, multiplied by the king. From a little blessing and provide everything. 5 loaves, 2 fish, miracle is sweet. Jah table full, every soul get feed. So when you feel you don't have enough, remember the God we're providing a love. Out of scarcity, him show up. 5 loaves, 2 fish, multiplied by the king. From a little blessing, him provide everything. 5 loaves, 2 fish, miracle is sweet. Jah table full, every soul get feed. From 5 loaves and 2 little fish, Jah feed the nation. Same God today, him still provide.
So our breakout question this morning is, when have you felt insignificant and small? When have you considered your contribution too inconsequential to matter? A time when you felt like you just weren't enough. As a reminder, if you're in the sanctuary, if you'll wave a hand, we'll get a microphone so that everybody can hear you. If you're on Zoom, again, there's a button. You can say, raise my hand, and we will unmute you so that you can speak. Or you can put something in the chat, no matter where you are, whatever app you're using. When have you felt small or not enough?
I'm sitting here and tried to think of think of that. Honestly, if I answered it from the heart, the first 46 years of my life, I guess I did.
Yeah.
And I was sitting here thinking about that. What I like, and I'm happy to be able to say, is I don't really remember what it felt like. I just remember I know that I felt that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Chrissy. And you're not alone. Lots of folks have felt it for a long time.
I think, Bob, for me, when certain administrations change in the country and rights are taken away, abuses are occurring, I feel very small and insignificant to stop any of it.
Yeah. Someone else. Many of you had that feeling of not being enough.
I feel like now that I'm older and you don't have the surety of being able to take care of everything in your life, with grandchildren and great grandchildren coming up and the things they have to face and the things that George and I have to face now with our health and stuff. I feel smaller now than I did when I was younger.
That makes sense, Becky. I understand.
Jamie White writes, being on disability and unable to work.
Certainly.
I think a couple of times I can think of my personal items, but I guess that's me. I'm personal. Is when when I started college, going into the accounting field, a business field, and not knowing what in the world was going on, and feel like you're inferior, but then you finally catch up. And then when you get your first job, not knowing what to expect is a major challenge too. And then I played football, and I feel inferior there all the time, not being able to do what needs to be done. I played quarterback, not being able to get the ball where it was supposed to be done, and all that kind of stuff. So you always feel inferior in playing sports. No matter what you do, you're inferior, and you don't get the job done like you want to get it done. So personally, those are the items that I can think of that bother me.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. A lot of us can relate to that, especially the new job or starting a new thing like college or something that can be pretty overwhelming at times. I think Teresa has written something, if somebody could read that.
Actually, it's Jenna Morrison.
You want me to do it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm feeling like my ability to contribute is almost completely gone because I'm having to coordinate everything I do with my parents who are doing things for me that I used to do for myself. There are disabled people who are more independent, but my life is not working out that way, and the puzzles to solve pile up.
Wow. Thank you, Teresa. And Jenna has something on the app.
Yeah, Jenna writes, I felt that way many times at the former churches I used to attend, and sadly, I let that separate me from God for many years.
Thank you, Jenna. I am finding more and more that my vision is affecting my ability to feel capable. There are things that I can't see and do like I used to, and finding that challenge to be overwhelming at times.
I think I have just felt smaller because, like, I'm a very funny person, and I think sometimes it can. Oh, she can handle a lot because she's funny and has a funnier personality. And I think it's sometimes people can make you feel small inevitably because they think you can take it. That's about it. Me.
Great point.
Yeah, very good point. And I did not recognize that voice. Could you identify yourself, please?
That was Savannah.
Yeah.
Savannah, okay. All right. Sorry I didn't recognize your voice, Savannah. Anyone else this morning? A time when you felt small, insignificant, overwhelmed, not enough. Dia writes, I feel insignificant and small when I'm around a large crowd of people and knowing what they're talking about, mostly at work at times. And that's online on the Facebook. Anyone else? Okay, let's get into our lesson for today, our teaching. Pastor G has our reading from the Gospel of Mark.
Yes, Mark 6:30 through 44. The apostles gathered around Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in a boat to a deserted place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they hurried there on foot from all the towns and arrived ahead of them. As he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. When it grew late, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now very late. Send them away, so that they may go into the surrounding country and villages and buy something for themselves to eat." But he answered them, "You give them something to eat." they said to him, "Are we to go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat?" And he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." When they had found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. Then Jesus ordered them to get all the people and sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and of fifties. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them all. And all ate, and all were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces and of the fish. Those who had eaten the loaves numbered 5,000.
And what was the last word?
Men.
Thank you.
You know how I am about patience.
I understand why you left it out, but it's significant that that's the way the story is written.
Yeah.
In the series, we've been looking at the margins of the Bible and finding stories about the nobodies, the overlooked, the unknown, the unseen, the anonymous ones, unsung heroes of the Bible, discovering how God of the margins sees potential that the world does not, how God always at work in the edges of society, how God calls out, empowers, and uses some of the least likely. We looked at a group of two Hebrew midwives, the story of Rahab and Hagar and Deborah. Last week we looked, or 2 weeks ago, at a Samaritan, and last week a penniless widow. In today's teaching, Jesus feeds a multitude. One of 6 such stories in the Gospels, making it one of the most well-known of all of Jesus' miracles. In this version, from Mark's Gospel, but I don't know if you noticed or not, but there's no mention of a boy in the story. The hero of the story in John's Gospel is some unnamed kid, and I'm calling the kid the sack lunch boy. But Mark doesn't mention him at all. In fact, he's not mentioned in 5 of the 6 versions of the story. Only John mentions the boy. Talk about unknown. Talk about unsung. Anyway, sometimes it's the heroes and heroines of the scripture are named, like the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah. We know their names, but they often get overshadowed by the larger story. Shiphrah and Puah were part of the story of Moses and the Exodus, and so they kind of get lost. But the last couple of weeks, we looked at a Samaritan and a penniless widow. We don't know their names at all. And today we're looking at another unnamed person and unmentioned in the gospel that we read today. You may not have even noticed. We know the story of the sack lunch boy, but Mark doesn't mention him. The writer clearly differentiates those who count, literally 5,000 men, and those who don't, all the women and children that were there. Jesus does not make that distinction. In fact, the story tells us later that all ate and were satisfied. But Mark, in his telling, mentions only the men. So here's this unnamed kid with a sack lunch. Unnamed because, as I said a moment ago, kids don't count. And we know the exact contents of his sack lunch, 5 barley loaves and 2 smoked fish. But we don't know his name, a real nobody. Think about that. So this story is told 6 times, actually. 4 of the times in all 4 Gospels, the number is 5,000. Matthew and Mark add a story about feeding of 4,000, a total of 6 stories. And this kid, sack lunch boy, is invisible, the center of the most told story about Jesus, the center of Jesus' biggest miracles. And all we know about him is what he brought for lunch. The disciples, let's get a setting for what's happening. The disciples had just returned from their first mission trip. Jesus sent them out in pairs of 2, their chance to practice ministry, to do the things that they had seen Jesus doing. They were preaching the good news, they were healing, they were casting out evil spirits, and they have returned from that trip. They're exhausted because ministry often takes something out of you. But they're also on a spiritual high. The thing is, ministry also gives back something. And so there is this low and high all mixed together. They've been told to take nothing with them except for a walking stick, to depend on the hospitality of others, that mutual dependency is an important key component to their mission. So entering into homes, staying with them, eating together, commiserating together, rubbing shoulders, all of this is a part of what it means to be building the kingdom of God on earth. Community is at the very center of it. So that's what they've been doing. They have returned and they started telling Jesus all about their adventures. They're both wired and tired. And they haven't eaten anything either. They're hungry. So Jesus suggests that they all get away for some respite. Let's get away from the crowds. They've come back. They're trying to talk to Jesus. He said, let's go to a desert place, a deserted place, and we'll take a break from the crowd. And so they actually get into a boat in order to move away from the crowd and have that quiet time together. But the crowd sees what they're doing. They actually run ahead of them and get there first. So when they land on the coast, the crowd's already gathered. Jesus, being Jesus, has compassion on them and begins to teach, like sheep without a shepherd, says the scriptures. Begins to teach them, and he teaches late into the day. At that time of day, the disciples pounce. It's finally their chance to have that respite that they so desperately need, that Jesus had even recommended for them all. Look, Jesus, here we are in this deserted place. Like you said, it's late. The hour is late. Just send them all away. Send them away and let them get some burgers at Mickey D's or something. And Jesus says, you give them something to eat. They replied, but that would cost 200 denarii. That's a fortune. We can't do that. Now, make a note. You would think that with all their deferring and saying we can't afford that, that Jesus might reprimand them a bit for that, but they are not rebuffed in any way for thinking practically. They are giving a hands-on role in the feeding. Moving among the crowd to see what they could find rather than sending them away. Go find out what you have to work with. What are your resources? Look within, look around. They come back with the answer. Remember, the boy is not mentioned this time, but the basket is. We have 5 barley loaves and 2 small smoked fish. That's all. Nothing really is what they're saying. Isn't that the way that we often look at our own resources, the treasure that is within us, that we have nothing really to offer? We minimize what we see in ourselves, as the disciples do. Jesus teaches them what they should have learned on the mission trip. Depend on each other, form community, look within. He told the people to gather in groups, in communities of 50s and hundreds. He blessed and broke the loaves and the fishes and tells the disciples to distribute the broken pieces. Now, I don't want to minimize the miracle that happened, nor to focus only on the supernatural. I believe that the divine plays a role in kingdom work. And I also believe that we have a part to play in God's kingdom. The reign of God is participatory. We are called to be a part of and to be an active role, to take an active role in the building of God's kingdom. We've been invited to participate in the venture. As one commentator put it, the miracle of the story becomes Jesus' ability to move people out of their selfishness, inspiring them to nourish each other. Many commentators believe that the sack lunch boy is not the only person who had a little something to offer that day, but was the prompt for everyone to share what they had. Others probably had a snack tucked away in a pocket or a purse, and perhaps they didn't want to eat in front of others. Perhaps they thought that what they had to offer wasn't quite enough to share, minimizing their own treasures, fear of scarcity. Chances are you feel the same way about yourself. Fretting over how to stretch the measly bread and fish, yourselves, your love, not enough. In the face of such want and of our own failings and our own limitations, it seems utterly foolhardy sometimes to trust in God's abundant gifts. Laid out before us and coursing through our veins, though, is God and God's ability to take what we have, no matter how small we may think it is. This is precisely how God is calling us, just as we are, to become his body distributed to the world. By the way, this story about the sharing of food was a very important story to the early church. Food and the agape meal, the gathering around a table together, eating together, building community. Food is the great equalizer and bridge builder. Eating together in community was a major characteristic of the early church. Perhaps that's part of the reason this story is told so often in the Gospels. This eating together was not only a building block for community, it was also a countercultural subversive act. All of society had a tendency to separate people into us and them. And the church came together from a very diverse backgrounds, and they all became equal as they sat around a table with each other. Excuse me. So, not only was agape meal a part of why it was important, but this eating of bread was a reminiscent of the eating of the Lord's Supper together. All of these acts in the early church were extremely important ways to symbolize God's presence in their lives and in their communities. So 3 things I want you to take away from today. The first is never underestimate your own gifts. God can multiply what you have to offer. You may think it's small, but God does not. Give yourself to the Creator's service. You may find yourself amazed at how much God can multiply what you have. Secondly, never underestimate what can be accomplished when we put our gifts together. Every Sunday morning as we read and say our affirmation, the word together is mentioned in every single line. It's what we do together. Community was the very first act of God after creation. When he looked at Adam and said, "It is not good that you be alone." Ministry. So he called his disciples and said to them, "Come follow me." He created a community of people who would be working with him, learning from him, and then sending them out into the world to be the arms and legs of Jesus himself, God's representatives. Number 3, never underestimate what God can do through us. Notice how Jesus involved his disciples throughout the story. Go through the crowds and see what you have to work with. Seek them in communities, put them in groups. Distribute the loaves and the fishes. Now take up the leftovers. At every step of the miracle, Jesus involved his disciples. As we are invited to join God in kingdom work, to participate, to let God work through us. That's how God chooses to work in the world, through God's people, through community. It just may be the reason that this story resonated with the gospel writers, because we all have this tendency to underestimate our own gifts, to underestimate ourselves and what we can do together, to underestimate God. I want to end with a story that Booker T. Washington, the great African-American educator and orator, loved to tell. It's a story that he liked to tell. There was a ship that was lost at sea in the Atlantic Ocean along the northern coast of South America. It had been there for many days, and suddenly they spied a friendly vessel, not real close, but close enough they could message them. And so they sent a message. The message was, well, I've lost it. Oh, water, water. We die of thirst was the message. The message came back to them from the other ship. Cast down your bucket where you are. But they knew they were in the sea, so they wrote back, water, water, we die of thirst. Again, the message came back, cast down your bucket where you are. A third time, they said the same thing. Water, water, we die of thirst. Came back a third time. Cast down your bucket where you are. The captain of the distressed vessel did, and the water came back clear and fresh. You see, they were caught in a place called what is called the River Sea, where the Amazon River, it dumps into the sea and extends way out into the ocean, fresh water for quite a ways. So they were able to have fresh water. Cast down your bucket where you are. That is the challenge for us to make ourselves available to God right where we are, with the resources that we have, with however small we may think it is. And so I leave you with this question today. What is in your sack lunch? Amen. This is the time when we respond, raise questions, observations. This is when we participate together in the proclamation. So I ask you, what do you have to say this morning? What do you have to offer? What are your questions? What are your observations? If you are on the app or on Zoom, you can put something in the chat. If you are in the sanctuary, wave a hand, we'll get a microphone to you. And if you're on Zoom, you can also raise your hand. We'll unmute you so that you can speak. This is your time of the service.
I know I've told you this many times that I appreciate Bob because he always brings out a different sermon on the sermon. He brings out something on the passage that's different. I've heard this passage preached many times, and I have never heard it said that the people might have had a lot of food. It's always been that Jesus and God provided the food. And, you know, it's very possible that that did happen. The people didn't walk around without nothing, you know. So it's very possible that people did have a lot of food in their things, and they contributed a lot to the food. So I had never heard this before, so I appreciate hearing it.
Thank you, Roy.
Well, it's an encouraging message, especially during these times, to trust that God will make a way out of no way with what you have. I appreciate that.
Thank you, G.
So many times in my life, I've had things to come up that I would volunteer for. And I think, now, Becky, why did you do that? And every single time, there's always stuff provided that I needed. Every time, and I'll say, well, you're going to get it this time because you're not going to be able to get it done. And So you just have to pray that it'll be provided, and then when it's there, I think, wow, here it is. And sometimes I think, oh, Becky, you didn't do this. Somebody's taking care of you, and I'm very appreciative of it.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that when it all works out, we didn't have any idea it was going to, but when it does, we sometimes go, look what I did, and forget that God was in the middle of it. Someone else. Observation, question, your thoughts. And it's okay if you ask a hard question, I'll just let Gator answer it.
Now, I remember one time too, and this is important to me. My dad didn't go to church, but he made sure that Mother and I got where we wanted to go. And then I started driving. It wasn't until he got older and retired that he started going with us. And after my mother died, he said, you know, Becky, I always thought I was doing everything on my own, and I look back now and I see that God has made everything possible that I worried about. Everything. And that's when he started going to church with me, and I was really thankful for that because my mother had died. But yeah, and I thought my mother would love to have heard that. Why didn't you tell her?
Yeah.
But
Heard it. She
yeah,
heard it.
but he did realize it. So
Yeah. Jenna has put something on the app, if somebody could read that.
Yes, Jenna says, what I get from this passage is that God will never send us out into the world unprepared. God will provide for us, his children. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you, Jenna.
Bob, I think one of the challenges, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say. One of the challenges of a scripture like this is to believe that everybody's going to get fed all the time, and that's what God's love is about. So I think, how would you interpret that piece of it? Is this a time and a place where something significant happened? Is it a message of absolute parental love over us, making sure all our needs are met? What do you think?
Well, we can look around and see that is not the case. That everybody is not fed all the time, that there are people and children especially that go hungry and to the point of death, that people are not protected in every situation, wars and that sort of thing that goes on. So it's obviously not true that everybody's needs are always met. But I do think we underestimate what God can do, and especially in light of the way we were looking at the story today as a story about community. We do have the resources to feed every person on earth. It's there. We don't share the resources in that way. But there are enough resources that not a single person would have to go hungry if we would come together and share those resources. And sharing resources was a major factor in the early church, by the way. They gave all that they had to community, and then they took care of the needs. So that's the way I would, especially in the way that we were interpreting the story today, as a story about community.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. I put you on the spot. That's a great response.
Thank you. I was going to let you handle the hard questions, but you asked the hard question.
Bob brought up something that just sprung my head. I come to church at least 3 times a week, and Alan said, what are you doing today, Alan? I picked up goods at Walmart. I picked up goods at Menards. These businesses in Owensboro are excellent at helping out people like us and the people around town that need food, and distribute it out. And then they are good about sharing it with others when they get more than they need. I think Alan does a wonderful thing in there, and he goes and picks up those groceries a lot themselves and distributes them out to the different people that need them. This is something I didn't know. I wonder what they always did with extra. Okay, I always have stuff left over that they did with this stuff, and they do share it, and I think it's a wonderful thing that they do.
Yeah. And the way that Alan coordinates that, and not only have enough for what we need to serve to folks, but sharing with other organizations that do the same kind of things. Anyone else? Okay, a final reminder that the Questions from Parishioners series will begin soon. We've got a couple more weeks on this series, but it'll begin sometime in September. I don't remember the exact date now. So give me those questions that are topics that you'd like for me to touch on. Just looking back to see if anybody has anything on the app. Thank you. God bless you all.